Hey everybody, thank you for joining me again today. I'm going to be doing a bunch of different videos to let everybody get to know a little bit more about me, about my decks, and then to do the March readings. So this is the first video that I'm going to film, which is just a brief summary about myself, where I'm from, how I came here, how I came to be presently reading tarot on YouTube for everyone, and what my path currently is. So I've got my journal here that I take a lot of notes in, and typically this is my spiritual journal. It's where I log. It's like a book of shadows, basically. It's where I log maybe different medicinal herbs that I find interesting, maybe different ideas for rituals. When I'm journaling about the holidays, I tend to take a very pagan or Wiccan approach to my spirituality. I don't really like to have labels or label myself as any specific type of religion, because I have studied a bunch of different religions: Hinduism, Buddhist, Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism. You know, the mainstream ones I've actually studied while I was in college for my degree, and what I have found I agree with and what works the best for me is typically pagan or Wiccan explanations for life. So I've taken a couple of notes down in this journal on areas that I wanted to touch on with you guys and just give you a brief summary as to who I am and what I do. So as you've heard before, my name is Katey. I currently live in the Phoenix area, but I'm planning on moving my way back towards the Seattle area, which I'm originally from. I grew up in a small suburb, about 30 minutes on a good day away from Seattle, and I was always very passionate about reading, about learning, about things that seemed bigger than myself. So I remember at a very early age being into things like numerology, symbolism, colors and their meanings, and I think that definitely shaped my interest in psychology over the years. I found that I really like learning about people and what makes us tick and why we're here and all those big philosophical questions related to humans. I also would tend to read a lot about romance as a teenage girl, but even then, as a teenage girl, I would read about those a lot, typically because in your teenage years you have to deal with a lot of things like anxiety, low self-esteem, body image, depression, high school. I mean, all of that. I went through all of it, and I specifically remember even having a voice inside my head, say negative things to me and bring me down from my full potential, which I really felt that I could reach. And there were definitely some really low points in my life. Looking back, I'm almost starting to think that that voice in my head was actually some kind of negative energy or entity, because it didn't even sound like myself when I was in my best moods. I tend to be a very positive person, and I noticed too that if I'm tired or if I'm not myself, I am an empath, so I will pick up on the personality traits or current emotions of other people. But I know what I'm like if I'm myself. I'm very upbeat, I'm very positive. I tend to look on the bright side more often than not, which is why my readings are always like that. But I'm now really starting to think, after all the research that I've been doing lately, that I might have had an entity or something be attracted to me at that point in my life, just because it was a very low point for me. I felt people would call me weird a lot, and I think it was definitely in a joking manner, but to me it really hit hard, because I never really felt like I was 100% fit in or connected with a certain group of people. Like, I felt like I could always pick up on emotions or vibes or things that were happening, but I never really felt like I had developed a close psychic or friendly, or just not even really a close connection with a person in general at that time in my life. And so, you know, the negative voice in my head, being called a weirdo, being a teenage girl, and having all of these issues like anxiety, low self-esteem, body image, depression, it put me down a really bad spiral. And what I started to turn towards at that time, well, this all began when I was about 13, I guess, which is interesting because my birthday is March 13th. 13 is a lucky number for me. I noticed at that time I was starting to find interest in divination, in Wicca, in paganism, and I would suck up all the information that I could. I'd go to Barnes & Noble, I'd pick up as many books as I could with what little money that I had at the time, and just dive into it and read as much as I could and learn as much as I could. And it just felt like home to me. It felt like a way that I could express myself and feel like I was doing something worthwhile. But I still struggled with sharing that interest with other people. And it took me a very long time to really grow the confidence to get here, first of all. I mean, this is not something that I really wanted to do from the beginning. I'm lucky enough to have found a mentor that's pushed me and inspired me to portray myself on the internet and share myself and find connections with everybody out there. So I started reading tarot basically when I was 13, and I was getting good at it, but the decks that I was using, they didn't really make sense to me that well. I was using the Rider deck. It's right here. It's the Rider Waite deck, you know, very classic images, but I didn't find that good of a connection with them. And so when I went to college, I noticed that I really lost my spirituality, my connection to my faith. But I would still talk to people, and I noticed that it was very easy for me to give people advice or to give people a safe place for them to come and just vent at me. Like I turned into the therapist in my college years, because it just felt natural for people to come to me and have a conversation and feel like they could be in a safe place. And I really took pride in that. I felt like that was really good for me to be that kind of a person for someone and to be there to protect them like that. My dogs are barking. So that was nice. But again, I lost my faith. I lost my practice. I wasn't as connected as I was before. And when I would tell people that, you know, I identified with Wiccan beliefs, they would again be like, "Oh, you're so weird. That's like, nobody does that. Why would you do something like that? Why would you be interested in that?" Okay, I'm going to stop the video and calm them down and come back. Anyway, where was I? College. And I would tell a few people, you know, that was what I practiced and that was what I believed, and they were like, "Oh, that's cool." And I would say to them, you know, "I'd be happy to give you tarot readings if you're interested," or I own a Ouija board. And I told them that we could create a safe circle for us to be able to talk to our loved ones that have passed away, because I did that a lot when I was a kid. I had a friend just before all of this started sparking up. I was 10, 11, 12, 13. And she and her mom were Catholic and very into spirits and talking to them with Ouija boards and being careful about not agitating them, and how they had a lot of ghosts in their life. And I always felt like some of the voices that I was hearing as well, not to sound schizophrenic, I guess, but makes you wonder, maybe schizophrenics are just hearing other entities. A lot of the voices or a lot of the feelings that I would get would be other beings, but I never actually saw them. I'm not clairvoyant to an extent. I'm working on that. It's much easier for me. I feel like I am very clairsentient. I just know. But I also am very empathic, so I will pick up on emotions or things like that. And then use the intuition that I'm getting from my archangels and my guides to connect with people. But I'm like going all over the place. But anyway, so, the spirit realm and all of that became very well known to me at that time. Also, what had sparked it was my grandfather died when I was 12. And he would show up in my dreams a lot. There was a time when I was living with my parents, obviously, still, and the phone rang. And we picked it up. And it didn't make any noise at first, but then all of a sudden it was my grandfather's voice, but it was his voicemail. It wasn't him saying anything. And I've never heard that happen in my life, where you get a voicemail calling you. So I felt like he was trying to reach out to us. And then at that time too, when we looked up, there was a rainbow in the sky and all that. And since then, I feel like he's come to me as a white butterfly. I see him a lot as confirmation for things. If I'm worried about anything, or if I'm asking for validation for something, usually a white butterfly will come around, and that's how I know that he's nearby. But I've also talked to him a few times using the Ouija board, and I'm working on getting better at trusting myself and getting the messages that I am, and knowing that they are, from my grandfather or from other spirits or that kind of thing. So back into college, I would tell them, I've done it before. We can have a safe experience whenever you're interested. I think I said that like my sophomore year. And years went by, and we would continue on with our college careers. It was literally our senior year, like weeks before we were about to graduate. And we decided, let's do it. Like, when else are we going to have this opportunity, right? So I cast the circle, I put up all the protection barriers, I showed them how it works. And we had first tried it with all four of us with a finger on, and that really didn't work. And so we ended up just doing it with me and one other friend. And it just, like, the ring that we were using on the board just went like lightning. And it would go so fast sometimes that we almost couldn't even keep up with it. And all four of us got to speak to our grandfathers. All four of us got validation for things that nobody else knew in the room, that only we knew. Such as like my grandfather loved to go crabbing a lot. And I had asked him before the reading, because I was going to the store beforehand to get incense and sage and all that to cleanse the room and to prepare the circle. And I asked him to say the word crab, basically, when we were there, to give me validation that it was him. And the other ones, they got to hear their grandfather say, like one of them was into the Ravens football team and stuff like that. And it just blew their minds, We also had one of my sorority sisters who had passed away when I had first joined the sorority came to us as well. And it was very cool. to see that all of them were doing well and they were at peace. And they gave us validation that there's nothing to be afraid of. So doing that again at the end of my college career really sparked up again all of the interests that had bloomed when I was originally, a tween, a small teenager. And since then, I've been working on that and trying to get better at it. What I also wanted to mention was at the end of my senior year, I actually got really sick. I was diagnosed with Graves' disease, which is a thyroid disease, a thyroid condition where my immune system was telling my thyroid to produce too much hormone. And so my body was metabolizing things faster than it should have, and my heart was moving faster. Granted, I'm not sure if I agree with the doctor that diagnosed it, just because I had different symptoms expressed than what he was explaining. I experienced weight gain. I got sick all the time. I would catch the smallest cold, the smallest flu, even after going to get, a flu shot. And it knocked me out for like a full 2 months. I couldn't move. I was throwing up all the time. My body I've never felt that sick ever before in my life. And what it did for me was gave me the opportunity to learn how important my body was and that I'm not invincible, and that in order for me to live a fulfilling life that I want, I really need to take care of my body. So that's when, after I graduated college, I did a lot of research. Originally, growing up, I was always used as a guinea pig for like calorie counting type diets, and I think that definitely had a huge effect on my self-esteem. And it also didn't really work because I have the worst sweet tooth, and if I don't get the satisfaction that I want from sweet food, I'm gonna go like gorge myself on it. But so when I was doing research after graduating college, I learned that veganism actually is very good for flushing out the body, for cleansing yourself, just for overall wellness and health. Veganism is like the best way to go. And so I did that for about 90 days. I wanted to do it for 90 days at first because usually it takes you about 40 days to change a habit. And I wanted to do 90 days to really start to see results. And I did. I started losing weight. My Graves' disease was completely cured. But again, a stressful period would come along, and I would just throw away the veganism skills or habits that I had built up. And what I noticed was that, again, my practice, my spirituality was not as good as I would have liked for it to be. So I shifted my focus to focus on my spirituality again and to focus on the tarot. And I have been doing readings for people at like Renaissance fairs and stuff like that, and it would be a really cool connection to be able to get to know somebody by reading their cards and not having to know anything about them beforehand. I would get to know a lot of people very intimately that way, and it was a real gift to be able to share that with someone and also receive such a good response back. It warmed my soul. And so that's what I started focusing on again, was doing readings for people, practicing my spirituality, strengthening my intuition, and this pretty much is where I am right now. I definitely feel that my readings are good. I feel that I give the right information to the people that are brought to me, are guided to me. I have gotten over the need to please people. I feel like if someone doesn't like my readings, then that's their opinion and that's their decision, and they can move on with their life. I only want to attract the people into my life and give them the guidance and the readings that they need because they want it. I don't want to force these on anybody. And practicing that and practicing my spirituality again has actually helped improve my health. I have learned that it is actually extremely important to eat a healthy diet and make sure that your body is pure and clean in order to be able to receive the messages from your guides and from archangels, depending on who you work with, in order to give, the strongest reading that you could possibly give. And my readings get better every day. Like there's never really going to be a point, I think, when my readings can't get any better. Like there's always going to be room for improvement. And I'm doing that. I'm working on my body. I'm eating better. And I'm trying, and the only thing that has really made a difference for me now is focusing on my spirituality and focusing on my passions and my drives and why I feel I am here in the first place on this planet, in this life, is to help people. And by doing that, by focusing on that, healing my body and the weight loss and the self-esteem and all of those things that I struggled with when I was younger are being healed as a byproduct, which I think is interesting because when I had spent all of these years focusing completely on removing those symptoms in almost an allopathic way of practicing medicine, the symptoms wouldn't go away. They would just numb themselves for a while, and then they would come back stronger than ever. But now, by focusing on my body as a whole, by focusing on mind, body, and spirit, all of the things that I'm wanting are manifesting. I work on my meditation every day now. I practice grounding. I practice strengthening my intuition. This month, I have been working with Archangel Michael. And then next month, I was hoping to get my angel oracle cards because I was hoping that they would be able to help me pick the next angel that I will be working with in March. And I'm sure I'll get them, by next week, but I'm getting antsy. And so I've been working with a specific archangel for each month to strengthen my readings, to strengthen my spirituality, and it's all a process. So yeah, that's pretty much where I am today. This channel is being used to connect with others, to connect with myself and my higher purpose, and to grow myself and my business and let it flourish into the safe place, the safe haven that I want it to be for people to come relax, rejuvenate, gain guidance, and internally find bliss. That's the whole point. BlissfulBee, right? So yeah, so that should be good for now. Thank you for sticking until the end if you did. I really appreciate you taking the time to learn about me. Make sure to check out my other videos. I'm going to be making a video for each of my decks so that you can meet my decks. Currently I have 3, but it's going to be growing here very soon once my angel cards come. And I'll make videos for those as well. And then check out March 2016's tarot readings. So, love you guys. Abundant blessings and peace from me to you. I'm sending you all of the best possible light energy that I can. I'm wishing you a wonderful weekend and a happy March. Bye, everybody.